want to talk about equivalence today and also milli equivalence. So M equivalence. So a lot of times when they give you an IV, they'll give you in terms of concentration of the ions and milli equivalence, essentially. So let's do one right here. It said, how many equivalents of chloride ions are in 2.5 moles of sodium chloride? Couple of things. So if I have sodium chloride, it's going to break down to form sodium ions plus chloride ions. And again, this is balanced. So it means like basically 1 mole of sodium chloride will form 1 mole of sodium ions and 1 mole of chloride ions. So a couple of things also, if I look at equivalence, so if I have chloride ions, it has a -1 charge. It basically means I have 1 equivalent of chloride ions per 1 mole of chloride ions. We're going to do another one which there's a different charge associated with it, but this basically what that -1 means, 1 equivalent per 1 mole of chloride ions. We're going to use that in this effect. So I'm going to write down what's given, which is 2.5 moles of sodium chloride. One mole of this forms 1 mole of chloride. So 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 mole of sodium chloride, 1 mole of chloride ions. I use this. So if I do that, I end up with 2.5 equivalents of chloride ions. That's the first part, and this says milli equivalents. Well, let's just do it right here. So again, you have that prefix milli, just like millimeters to meters. So 1 equivalent of chloride is 1,000. So 2,500 milli equivalents of the chloride ion. So let's do another one. In this case, how many equivalents of magnesium ions, magnesium is positive 2 charge, and 2.5 moles of magnesium chloride, and then I'm going to do milli equivalents of the magnesium ions. So a couple of things. I went ahead and balanced this. So 1 mole of magnesium chloride will form 1 mole of magnesium, and then 2 moles of chloride ions. Also, when I talk about equivalence, this is where it can be a little bit confusing. If I have magnesium ions, that positive 2 charge means I have 2 equivalents of magnesium ions per 1 mole. So again, that charge tells you if it's positive 2, if it was positive 3, it'd be 3 equivalents per 1 mole, but that positive 2 means I have 2 equivalents per 1 mole. It's a 2-to-1 ratio with that. So let's go ahead and write down what's given. So 2.5 moles of magnesium chloride, 1 mole, 1. So 1-to-1 ratio, so this is 1 right there. Then 1 mole is 2 equivalents. We have to use that. So let me erase this. So I get 5 equivalents of magnesium ions. Again, the main thing is, notice that 1 mole for 2 equivalents, because magnesium has that positive 2 charge. Even when it has a negative 2 charge, it's still a 2-to-1 ratio. So that charge, wherever that value is, 1, 2, 3, that's going to tell how many equivalents per 1 mole. It's always per 1 mole. Let's go ahead and change it to milli equivalents. So just multiply by 1,000, essentially. And again, oftentimes, these concentration IVs are in terms of milliequivalents, but they'll be much lower than this. They'll be like 154 milliequivalents, 100 milliequivalents, something to that effect.